All right, everyone, welcome back. It feels like every day there's another headline about software robots taking over the world.
Yeah.
But seriously, RPA is really changing how businesses do their thing.
Absolutely.
But I think a lot of folks maybe don't realize all the hurdles you got to jump over when it comes to compliance.
Yeah, that's a big one.
So today we're going to do a deep dive into RPA compliance throughout that entire life cycle from start to finish.
The whole shebang.
Yeah. The mission here is to help you guys grasp the essentials, but more importantly, understand WHY it matters so much.
The why is key.
Now, full disclosure, the source material we're looking at is a little on the dry side.
It's got a very official title.
Yeah, it's called Compliance and RPA Development, a lifecycle perspective.
Very descriptive.
But don't worry, we're going to uncover the good stuff and make this surprisingly engaging, I promise.
We'll make it fun.
So to kick things off, it's interesting how compliance isn't just a box you check at the end.
Oh, definitely not.
It's like woven into the very fabric of this whole RPA journey.
It's got to be baked in from the beginning.
Right, so let's start with the first stage, that ideation phase, before we even write a single line of code.
Okay.
What are we doing here?
Think of it this way. It's like you're building a skyscraper.
Okay.
You wouldn't just start slapping on bricks and mortar without blueprints, permits, inspections, all that.
Right, got to lay the foundation.
Exactly. And RPA is the same way. In this phase, we're identifying potential compliance risks.
Before anything really gets going.
Right away. We figure out who's responsible, what kind of controls we need, and if it all lines up with those internal policies and those pesky external regulations.
Lots of moving parts.
Oh, yeah. We're talking control identification, process ownership, governance. It's all about laying that groundwork for success.
So it's like having a blueprint for compliance, right?
Absolutely. You got to have that roadmap.
Okay, so the blueprint's ready. We're moving on to the building phase. Here's where things get a little more hands-on.
Rubber meets the road.
Right, so let's talk code quality. What does that even mean in the world of bots?
Well, you know it is. It's like baking a cake. You can't just toss ingredients together and hope for the best.
You got to follow the recipe.
Exactly. So poorly written bot code, it's like that recipe with missing steps or the wrong measurements. It's just going to lead to errors and, who wants a bot cake that falls flat?
Not me.
Oh.
But it's not just about the code itself.
Right. Infrastructure security is huge, too.
Okay, so how do we keep those bots safe and sound?
Think of it this way. Your RPA environment is like a bank vault.
Grab me.
Filled with all this valuable data. You need serious protection against those sneaky threats, both inside and outside the company.
So we're talking firewalls, access controls, all that jazz?
The whole 9 yards. Encryption, too. We got to make sure that data is locked down tight.
And I imagine with all this building and coding, things are changing all the time.
Oh, yeah. Things are always evolving.
So how do we make sure everyone's on the same page?
That's where change management comes in.
Okay, what's that all about?
It's all about keeping track of every single little tweak or modification to those bots.
So it's like a detailed log of every change.
Exactly. Everything is documented, it's transparent, it's accountable, no surprises.
That makes sense.
And then we have third-party security, too.
So if we're using any outside tools or services?
We got to scrutinize them. It's like, vetting contractors before they work on your house. Make sure they're trustworthy.
Yeah, you don't want just anyone messing with your bots.
Definitely not. And finally, we got segregation of duties.
Okay, break that one down for me.
This is all about making sure that no one person has too much control.
So it's like checks and balances within the system itself?
Right on. It minimizes the risk of mistakes or, even worse, intentional bad stuff.
Like someone going rogue with the bots.
You got it. So yeah, a lot going on in this phase.
It's like building a secure and compliant ecosystem from the ground up.
Precisely.
But how do we know it all actually works?
Oh, good point. We can't just assume, right?
Right. Which brings us to the testing phase.
Time to put those bots through their paces.
Exactly. What happens here?
Imagine you're training an athlete for the Olympics.
Oh, wow. High stakes.
Right. You wouldn't send them to compete without serious training and trials to make sure they're ready.
No way.
It's the same with our bots. We have to make sure they can handle anything.
So test case completeness is crucial here.
Absolutely. We simulate all sorts of scenarios, both good and bad, internal standards, external regulations. We got to cover it all.
So it's not just about passing a simple test.
It's about making sure they can perform flawlessly under any circumstance and stay compliant every step of the way.
Like a true champion.
Exactly. Gold medal performance.
Okay, so the bots are trained. They're ready to go. We're hitting deployment.
Showtime.
What do we need to watch out for now?
It's opening night. But even with a flawless performance, we got to make sure the stage is set just right.
So the environment itself needs to be secure too.
100%. Data handling within tools like UiPath is super important. These platforms, they act like secure pipelines, making sure data flows safely without any leaks, especially when it comes to sensitive info.
So it's about protecting that data at every turn.
Absolutely. And of course, we can't forget password storage.
Ah, yes, the keys to the kingdom.
Leaving credentials exposed is like leaving your front door wide open. Anyone could walk in.
So how do we lock things down?
We use encryption, multi-factor authentication, and rock-solid access controls.
So only the authorized folks can get in.
Right. We got to protect those digital keys like they're made of gold.
Okay, so we've built it, we've tested it, we've deployed it.
Sounds like we're done.
But wait a minute, are we done with compliance?
Not quite. The show must go on, right?
What do you mean?
We're entering the operations phase now, and this is where the real long game begins.
Okay, how so?
Compliance isn't just a one-time thing, it's a constant commitment.
So we can't just set it and forget it.
Nope. Imagine a power outage, a natural disaster chaos.
Well, yeah, things happen.
So we need a solid disaster recovery strategy. It's like insurance for your automation.
Makes sense.
So if something goes wrong, you can bounce back quickly.
So it's all about business continuity.
Exactly. And then there's incident management. Being able to tackle any issues that pop up and learn from them.
So constantly improving the system.
That's the goal. And of course, role access management. Making sure only the right people have access.
Like a very exclusive club.
You got it. It's like constantly checking and adjusting your home security system, staying ahead of those sneaky threats.
Now, I gotta ask, with all this work, why is compliance so crucial?
It's more than just checking boxes.
Yeah, what's the real impact beyond avoiding penalties and all that?
This is where it gets really interesting. Compliance is about building trust.
Okay, tell me more.
Think about it. Imagine a bank with terrible security. Would you trust them with your money?
Probably not.
Right. It's the same with RPA. Strong compliance shows everyone you're serious about security, reliability, ethical practices.
So it builds trust with customers, partners, even regulators.
You got it. It's a signal that you're doing things the right way.
So it's not just about avoiding trouble, it's about establishing a reputation.
Exactly.
Yes.
A reputation for being responsible and trustworthy.
Which I imagine is good for business.
Definitely. That trust then fuels scalability.
So as your automation grows,
That solid compliance framework keeps things from going off the rails.
like guardrails on the automation highway.
Perfect analogy. You can scale up confidently knowing you're still secure and compliant.
And finally, I imagine it makes the whole system more resilient.
Absolutely. Compliance is like a shield protecting you from disruptions.
Whether it's a technical glitch or a big regulatory change.
It helps you weather the storm.
So we've covered a ton today, from that early planning in the ideation phase to the constant vigilance of operations.
It's a journey.
And it's clear that compliance isn't just an afterthought, it's baked into the whole RPA lifecycle.
From start to finish.
And as this technology keeps evolving at warp speed,
Which it is. It's crazy.
the big question remains, how do we make sure compliance keeps pace with all these new advancements and challenges?
That's the million-dollar question.
Dang it.
Something to think about as we move forward into this brave new world of automation.
Definitely a lot to ponder. And this is just the start of our exploration into the world of RPA.
Stay tuned.
We'll be back with more deep dives into this fascinating and rapidly changing field. See you next time.